Good morning, students. We're going to start with a new chapter, that is the Court of Justice. Now, the Court of Justice is actually an excerpt from William Shakespeare's play, The Merchant of Venice. Okay, to be more precise, this is actually a part from Act 4, Scene 1. Okay, now this scene is also termed as the trial scene. Now, in this scene, the trial of Antonio is going on. Okay, now you have to understand what the trial was going on. Okay, now since this is Act 4, Scene 1, many events have already taken place earlier. Okay, so let us have a quick synopsis of those events. Okay, because if we do not have a proper synopsis of the events, if we do not have the proper knowledge of those events, it will be very difficult to understand this. Okay, now the thing is that Antonio was a very rich merchant of Venice. Okay, and Shylock was a Jew. He was also a merchant and he was also very wealthy. Now Shylock and Antonio, they were enemies, they were rivals. Okay, and Antonio had a friend whose name was Bassanio. Okay, now Bassanio was a spendthrift. He used to spend a lot of money. Okay, and as such, what happened is that he lost much. He lost a huge amount of his money, and he came to Antonio asking for money. But then what happened is that Antonio did not have the required amount of money with him, and so they went to Shylock asking for the money. Now Shylock decided to lend the money, but then he prepared a bond, and in that bond there was a condition. So he was ready to give the money, but then Antonio had to oblige to a condition. So what was that condition? The condition was that if Antonio failed to repay the money, within a period of 3 months, Shylock would then cut a pound of flesh from Antonio's chest. So this was the condition. And Antonio at that time readily agreed. Because he felt that his ships would return and he would be able to repay the money. Okay, so he was I personally feel that he was very proud and arrogant of his wealth, and he felt that don't worry, my ships will return and I will be able to repay the money to him. Okay, so he signed the bond. Then what happened? Then Bassanio went to Belmont to propose Portia, to win the hand of Portia, and he succeeded in winning the hand of Portia. Okay, now while he was in Belmont, what happened is that he got the news that Antonio was taken as a captive by Shylock. Okay, mainly because Antonio had become a bankrupt and he was unable to repay the loan in the specified time. And so what happened? Shylock took him as a captive and was ready to extract revenge. He was ready to take revenge from Antonio. So Bassanio got the news, and as soon as he got the news, he started his journey for Venice. Okay, and in the meantime, Portia understood that it would be very difficult for them, to save the life of Antonio. So Portia decided to take matters into her own hand, and she, contacted her cousin, Dr. Bellario, who was supposed to be the lawyer of this case. So she contacted Dr. Bellario, and they had their plan, and Portia came to Venice disguised as a lawyer. So the lawyer that you will meet here is actually Portia, but the characters who are out there on the stage, they are not able to recognize Portia because she is in the guise of a male lawyer. Okay, so in this scene you will see that Shylock at the very beginning is very optimistic. He feels that he will be able to cut the pound of flesh from Antonio's body and finally take revenge for all the atrocities that he had faced. So in the very beginning, what we see is that Shylock is very optimistic. He's very aggressive, and Antonio, he has accepted his doom. Okay, and there is no spark of life in Antonio. Okay, so if you see the first few lines of the chapter, you will see the synopsis is given. Shylock had lent some money to Antonio. The agreement signed specified that if Antonio was unable to return the money within a period of time, now within a period of time means 3 months, okay, he would have to repay Shylock with a pound of flesh curved from his chest. Okay, in this scene, the case that Shylock has brought against Antonio is being tried. So the case is going on. The Duke of Venice, who presides over the court, reads out a letter from Dr. Bellario. Now, Dr. Bellario was supposed to be the lawyer of the case, but he couldn't come. And instead of Dr. Bellario, who came? Portia. Okay. So Dr. Bellario informing the court that he is ill and so unable to come to Venice, but has sent a young doctor of laws to replace him. So who is the doctor of laws? See, first of all, doctor of laws actually means lawyer. So Dr. Bellario could not come. So what he did is that he sent a young lawyer to replace him. So this young lawyer is none other than Portia herself. Okay, but the characters on stage, they are not able to recognize her because she is now in the guise of a male lawyer. Okay, so the Duke reads, "This letter from Bellario recommends a young and learned doctor to our court. Where is he?" So the Duke says, this letter, the letter that I've got from Bellario, in this letter, Bellario has mentioned that a young and learned doctor is going to come to our court. Where is he? Nerissa, who was accompanying Portia, says, he waits outside to know your answer, whether you will admit him. So Nerissa replies that, yeah, he's waiting outside and he wants to know whether you will give him the permission or whether you will allow him to enter. Okay. Then the Duke replies, with all my heart, go bring him here with all courtesy. So the Duke then says that, yeah, I welcome him with all my heart. Go bring him here with all courtesy. Then what happens? Several of Duke's followers leave the court to escort the young lawyer into the court. So after the Duke said that, yeah, fine, bring him in, welcome him with all courtesy. Then the followers of the Duke, what they did is that they went to bring the lawyer inside the court. Meanwhile, the court shall hear Bellario's letter. So meanwhile, the court will read Bellario's letter. Now, meanwhile, in the sense that till the lawyer comes, let us read Bellario's letter. Let us read the contents of the letter. Okay. So, reads, I have received the letter from your grace. Your grace means the Duke himself. But I am very sick and cannot come to Venice. So, Bellario has written that he is very sick and he cannot come to Venice. Okay. But when your grace's letter arrived, a young doctor from Rome was visiting my home. So, in the letter, Bellario mentions that, see, I'm very sorry, I'm sick, I cannot come to Venice. But when your grace's letter arrived, that means when your letter arrived, a young doctor from Rome was visiting my home. Doctor here means lawyer. Okay, so a young lawyer had come to my home. His name is Balthazar. So in the letter, Bellario mentions that, see, when I received your letter, at the time I was very sick. Okay, and but luckily what happened is that at that very moment, a young doctor had come to visit my home. His name is Balthazar. I have informed him of the dispute between Shylock and Antonio. So what happened is that I informed him. I told him about the dispute that is going on, the controversy that is going on between the two, that is Shylock and Antonio. Okay. We have gone through the law books together. That means we have gone through the books, we have gone through all the law books together, we have studied about this case thoroughly. Okay. And he is fully acquainted with my opinion. Now the meaning of acquainted is given in your book. It is given familiar with, here informed. That means the young lawyer is fully familiar with my opinion. He knows what my opinion is regarding this case. Okay. So in the letter, Bellario mentions that we have gone through the law books together and he is fully acquainted with my opinion. So he knows what my opinion is. He is fully familiar with my opinion regarding the case, which together with his own learning, the greatness of which I cannot sufficiently praise. So in the letter, Bellario mentions that he not only has my opinion, but he also has his own knowledge and learning regarding the case. Okay, so he has my opinion, and along with that, he also has his own learning. Okay, together with his own learning, the greatness of which I cannot sufficiently praise. That means I cannot praise him enough. He is such a well-learned lawyer. He knows so many things. I cannot praise him enough. Will enable him to take my place at the trial. So Bellario mentions that, see, he has my opinion and he also has his own learning and knowledge. And if you mix this two, you will see that he is capable enough, or he's able enough to take my place. Okay. So he mentions, together with his own learning, the greatness of which I cannot sufficiently praise, that means I cannot praise him enough, will enable him to take my place at the trial. That means this will enable him to take my place at the trial. I beg your grace. So in the letter, Bellario mentions that I beg your grace, let not his lack of years. Now, lack of years actually means inexperience, given the fact that the lawyer was very young. So, when you see someone very young, obviously you feel that this person might not have good knowledge about a particular topic. Okay, so Bellario mentions in the letter that, please, your grace, let not his lack of years means lack of experience, be an impediment. Impediment means obstruction. Let not his lack of years, let not his inexperience be an obstruction to his estimation in your grace's eyes. So, he mentions that let not his lack of years, that means let not his inexperience be a barrier which, denies him the respect that he deserves. So as I told you, sometimes when you see a young person, you might feel that, he's not good enough for the post, or he does not deserve to be here. So, he does not get the due respect. So Bellario in his letter clearly mentions that, please, let his inexperience let his inexperience not be a barrier. Let it not be an obstruction which denies him the respect that he deserves. And then he also says that, for never have I known so young a body with so old a head. So in the letter, Bellario clearly mentions that I have never seen a person so young a body with so old a head. Now, old a head actually means maturity. Okay, having great knowledge about a particular topic or particular subject. Okay, so Bellario clearly mentions that I have never known so young a person to have such a wise head. I have never known such a young person to have so much maturity. Okay, I leave him to your gracious acceptance. So in the letter, Bellario mentions that I leave him to your gracious acceptance. That means I wish that you will accept him graciously, and trust that his performance at the trial will speak for his ability. So in the letter, he also mentions that his performance will speak for him. His performance will be such that you will be able to understand why I praised him so much in this letter, or in my letter. Okay, so in the letter, Bellario clearly mentions that, see, your grace, when I got your letter, at that moment I was very sick, I was very ill. But at that time I also had a young lawyer who had come to visit me, and he had come from Rome. Okay, and he's very well learned. He has a lot of knowledge regarding the case, and we went through a lot of books. He has my opinion, and he also has his own knowledge. And if you mix those two, if you mix these two, you will see that he is capable enough of taking my place at the trial. Okay, and then he also mentions that, please your grace, let his lack of years, that means let his inexperience not be an obstruction which denies him that due respect that he deserves. And then he justifies it by saying that I have never known so young a body with so old a head. So I think the meaning is given in your book, old a head. The meaning is so much wisdom. That means I've never known a person who looks so young yet has so much maturity and has so much wisdom. Okay, and then he also says that his performance will speak for him. You see how he performs in the court. You see how he performs during the entire trial. Okay, then as he finishes the letter, the lawyer enters. Now, who is the lawyer? Obviously, Portia. As you can see, Portia enters the courtroom dressed like a doctor of laws. Okay? You hear the learned Bellario, what he writes, and here I take it is the young doctor himself. So, I mean, as the Duke was reading, then what happened is that Portia entered, and then the Duke says, you hear the learned Bellario? That means that, Duke is now addressing to all the people who are there. So he tells that you hear the learned Bellario, what he writes. That means you have heard what Bellario has written in his letter. And here I take it, the young doctor himself. That means then he tells that, and here I feel that the young lawyer has arrived. Then he tells to Portia, give me your hand. Come you from old Bellario. And then he greets Portia and tells that, come you from old Bellario. That means, has old Bellario sent you here? Portia replies, I did, my lord. That means, yes, my lord, Bellario has sent me. Then the Duke replies, you are welcome. Take your place. Are you acquainted with the dispute that holds this present question in the court? So the Duke asks Portia that, are you aware of the case? Are you aware of the case that is going on between the two? Are you aware of the dispute? Are you acquainted? Acquainted means, are you aware of the dispute that holds the present question in the court? And the meaning is also given in your book, which is that holds the present question in the court means which raise the case before the court. That means, are you aware of the case that is going on in the court right now? Okay. So that holds this present question in the court means, are you aware of the case that is going on in the court right now? Okay. Then Portia replies, I am informed thoroughly of the case. That means I am well aware of the case. I am well aware of the case. Which is the merchant here and who's Shylock? And then Portia comes and Portia asks, who is the merchant here and who is Shylock? Then the Duke replies, Antonio and old Shylock both stand forth. And then the Duke tells Antonio and Shylock to stand forth. That means stand in front. He tells Antonio and Shylock to come in front, to come and stand in front. Okay. Then Portia replies, of a strange nature is the suit you follow. So Portia is now addressing Shylock. He is now addressing Shylock. Portia tells Shylock, she tells Shylock, of a strange nature is the suit you follow. Yet, under the rules of the Venetian law, this court cannot refuse you justice. So Portia tells Shylock that, the case is of very strange nature. Yet, it is in accordance with the rules of the Venetian law. That means it is in accordance with the rules of Venice. Okay, laws of Venice. So, although the case is very, very strange, but yet it is in accordance with the laws of Venice. Okay. So, she tells, of a strange nature is the suit you follow. Yet, under the rules of the Venetian law, this court cannot refuse you justice. So, although your case is very, very strange, yet it is in accordance with the law. And as such, no one can deny you. No one can deny you. Then she turns to Antonio and tells, you stand within his danger, do you not? So Portia turns to Antonio and tells, you stand within his danger, do you not? So she asks Antonio that, are you in danger from him? Are you not? Antonio replies, so he says. So Antonio replies that, yeah, he says so. So Shylock says that I am in danger. So yeah, I am in danger. Portia then asks him, do you confess the bond? Antonio replies, I do. So Portia asks Antonio that, do you confess the bond? That means, do you admit that you had signed the bond and now you have broken the bond? You have forfeited the bond? Do you agree to that? Antonio replies, I do. Portia then asks, then must Shylock be merciful? So Portia is now asking, then yeah, in that case, Shylock should be merciful. He must be merciful. He must show his mercy towards you. Then Shylock replies, on what compulsion must I? Tell me that. So as Portia says that Shylock should be merciful in that case, Shylock replies, on what compulsion? Why should I show mercy? You tell me that. Why should I show mercy? Then Portia replies, this speech is very important. The quality of mercy is not strained. It drops as gentle rain from heaven. So now Portia emphasizes on the importance of mercy. She tells the quality of mercy is not strained. That means the quality of mercy cannot be forced. It drops as gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. So Portia tells that, see, it is not in the nature of mercy to be forced. You cannot force someone. It drops as gentle rain from heaven. That means it drops like gentle rain from heaven upon the earth below. Upon the place beneath. Upon the place beneath means upon the earth below. It is twice blessed. It blesses him that gives and him that takes. So it is twice blessed. The quality of mercy is twice blessed. It blesses both the person who gives and it also blesses the person who receives it. Okay, so try to understand this. It is twice blessed. Mercy is twice blessed. It blesses him that gives and him that takes. Takes means receives. Okay, so Portia tells that, see, the quality of mercy cannot be forced. It drops as gentle rain from heaven upon the earth beneath, upon the earth below. It is twice blessed. It blesses him that gives and him that takes. That means it blesses both the parties involved. It blesses the person who shows mercy as well as the person who receives it. It is the mightiest in the mightiest. That means it is the mightiest quality in the mightiest of people. It is the mightiest quality in the mightiest of people. So the first mightiest means the mightiest quality. And the first mightiest means the mightiest of quality. And the second mightiest means the mightiest of people. Okay. So she tries to mean that it is the most powerful quality. It is the most powerful quality in the most powerful of men. Okay. It suits the monarch better than his crown. So mercy suits a king better than his crown. See, a king wears a crown, isn't it? But mercy suits a king better than his crown. His scepter shows the force of worldly power. Now, that kings, they have crown and they also hold this, sometimes a golden rod in their hand. Now that is called a scepter. Okay. So scepter shows the force of worldly power, the glory and majesty of kings, which is the gift from God himself. But earthly power is most like God's when mercy seasons justice. Okay. So Portia tells that, see, mercy is the most powerful quality in the most powerful of men. Okay, it suits a monarch better than his crown. That means mercy suits a monarch better than his crown. You know that king wears a crown, but mercy is perhaps one quality that suits him better than his crown. His scepter shows the force of worldly power. Now, I think the meaning of scepter is given in your book. An ornamental rod carried by a king or queen which signifies his or her authority. Okay, so scepter shows the force of worldly power. Okay. The glory and majesty of kings. Now see, scepter is actually, it's a symbol of power. Okay. And it inspires and it is a symbol of awe and majesty. Okay. And when people see the crown or when people see the scepter, it automatically inspires respect, or it automatically inspires fear, dread and fear of the kings in the hearts of the people. Okay. But above the scepter, above the crown, lies the quality of mercy. This is what Portia is trying to emphasize on. She tells that it suits a king better than his crown, and it also suits a king better, and it is also better than a scepter. The scepter it's a symbol of power, the glory and majesty of kings, which is a gift from God himself, but earthly power is most like God's when mercy seasons justice. Now, the thing is that actually, few lines are not given here in the text in your book. Okay, because after this line, which is the glory and majesty of kings, you have one more line, which is, wherein doth sit the dread and fear of king, but mercy is above this sceptered sway. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is an attribute of God himself. Now this portion is not there in your book. Okay, so without reading this portion, it becomes very difficult to relate. Okay, so let me just explain these lines. So I'm explaining each and everything in detail. Okay, so the actual text I'm explaining. So Portia first of all tells that, see, it suits a king better than his crown. Then Portia talks about the scepter. She tells that, see, the scepter of a king is a force of worldly power. It's a symbol of awe and majesty, which inspires in people the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above the scepter. Mercy is above the crown, it is also above the scepter. It is deep seated in the hearts of kings. Mercy is deep seated, it is enthroned in the hearts of the kings. Okay, and Portia also tells that it is. Portia also tells that it is the quality of God Himself. So, if you exercise mercy, you assume the role of God. Okay, and that is why in the actual speech it is given. It is the quality of God Himself. It is an attribute of God Himself. Attribute means quality. Okay, so Portia tries to emphasize on the fact that mercy is an attribute of God Himself. Okay, so in this speech, first of all, Portia says that the quality of mercy is not strained. It cannot be forced. It drops as gentle rain from heaven. That means it is natural. Upon the place beneath. That means upon the earth below. It is twice blessed. That means it is twice blessed. It blesses the person who shows mercy as well as the person who receives it. It is the mightiest in the mightiest. That means it is the most powerful quality in the most powerful of men. It suits the monarch better than his crown. His scepter shows the force of worldly power, the glory and majesty of kings. That means scepter is just a symbol of glory and majesty. And when people see the scepter, they fear the kings. But according to Portia, mercy suits a king better than his scepter as well as the crown. Okay? She feels that mercy is a quality which is deep seated in the hearts of the kings. Okay? And it is the quality of God Himself. Mercy is the quality of God Himself. Okay? And then she tells, which is the gift from God Himself, but earthly power is most like God's when mercy seasons justice. Okay, so Portia then tells that earthly power seems godlike when justice is handed out with mercy. So you give justice, but also try to show mercy. Okay, so mercy seasons justice. That means the verdict is directed by the principle of mercy. Okay, so Portia here tries to emphasize on the quality of mercy by telling that, earthly power feels godlike or assumes the role of God when mercy seasons justice. That means justice is, handed out with mercy. Therefore, though you have come to this court for justice, consider this. So then Portia tells that although you have come to this court seeking for justice, just consider this for a moment. If justice was all that we received, which of our souls would be saved? Which means that, if justice were to take its course, none of us would be spared. So if we all start seeking for justice, none of us would be spared. So we must not forget about the virtue and the quality of mercy. So justice has to be there, but the quality of mercy should not be forgotten. Okay. Then Portia tells, we pray to Him means God, for mercy. And that same prayer doth teach us to render deeds of mercy. That means we pray to God for His mercy, and that same prayer teaches us to show mercy to others. We pray to God for asking for mercy, isn't it? And that same prayer teaches us to show mercy to others. Okay? I have spoken thus much to soften the justice of thy plea. That means, and then Portia tells us, see, I have already spoken much to soften the justice of thy plea, which if you follow, the strict court of Venice must pass the sentence against the merchant here. And then Portia tells us, see, I have spoken a lot. I have said what I could to moderate the justice that you want, that you plead for, which if you continue to seek, the strict court of Venice will obviously be forced to pass the judgment against the merchant. So Portia tells us, see, I have tried to make you understand. I have spoken a lot. Okay, I have said what I could to decrease, to mitigate the justice that you seek for. And if you still wish to continue with this, the strict court of Venice will obviously have to pass the judgment against the merchant here, that is Antonio. Okay. Then Shylock tells, my deeds upon my head, I crave the law, the penalty and forfeit of my bond. So Shylock is not willing to listen to anything. Shylock just wants to cut the pound of flesh from Antonio's chest, and that's it. So Shylock tells, my deeds upon my head, I crave the law, the penalty and forfeit of my bond. So my deeds upon my head means I am responsible for my own actions. So let the result of my action fall upon my head. I'm not concerned about that at all. I crave the law. That means I want it. I want the law to pass judgment against Antonio, the penalty and forfeit of my bond. Then Portia replies, is he not able to repay the money? Then Portia asks that, is he not able to repay the money? Is Antonio not able to repay the money? Bassanio replies, yes, here I tender it for him in the court. And then Bassanio replies that, yeah, I am ready to give the money for him in the court. So Bassanio, as I told you, was Antonio's friend. And Bassanio replies that, see, yeah, he is able. I am willing to give the money for him in the court. Yes, twice the sum. If that will not suffice, I will be bound to pay 10 times over on the forfeit of my hands, my head and my heart. If that will not suffice, it must appear that malice bears down truth. And I beseech you, bend once the law to your authority. To do a great right, do a little wrong. And curb this cruel devil of his will. Okay, so Bassanio, after Portia asks that, is he not able to repay the money? Bassanio replies, yes, here I tender it for him in the court. That means I am willing to pay back the money for him in the court. And not just the actual amount, twice the amount, twice the sum. Antonio signed the bond where Bassanio had taken 3,000 ducats. Okay, so now he was willing to repay by paying 6,000 ducats, by paying 6,000 ducats. If that will not suffice, that means if that is not sufficient, I will be bound to pay 10 times over. That means if that is not enough, I am willing to pay 10 times over. How? On the forfeit of my hands, my head and my heart. That means I am willing to sacrifice myself. I am willing to sacrifice my hands, my head, my heart. And if that is also not sufficient, it must appear that malice bears down truth. That means if that is also not sufficient, it is very evident that malice bears down truth. Malice actually means like hatred. Okay, malice means hatred. So Bassanio tells that if that is also not enough, it is very clear, it is evident that hatred bears down truth. So hatred is overpowering truth. And I beseech you, beseech means request, beg. Bend once the law to your authority. That means just bend it. Just bend the law to your authority. To do a great right, do a little wrong. And curb this cruel devil of his will. So Bassanio then tells Portia that, just do one thing. Bend the law. Bend the law once to your authority. That means just change the law. Change the law for once. You use your authority and change the law. To do a great right, do a little wrong. So what is the great right referred to here? The great right is saving the life of Antonio. And what is the little wrong referred to here? Changing the law. But see, you cannot just change law for one person, isn't it? So Bassanio Bassanio wanted to save his friend. And so he told the lawyer, Bassanio is not able to understand that the lawyer standing in front of him is Portia, his wife. Okay. So Bassanio tells that to do a great right. What is the great right referred to here? Saving the life of Antonio. To do a great right, do a little wrong. Just change the law for once and curb the cruel devil of his will. That means prevent the cruel devil. Who is the cruel devil? Shylock. Of his will. That means prevent the cruel devil from cutting the pound of flesh from Antonio's body. Then Portia replies very strictly, that must not be. That means, I cannot do that. I cannot just change the law. No power in Venice can alter a decree. Decree means, I think the meaning is given, official order. That means a law. No power in Venice has the authority to, change the law, which has already been established. It will be recorded for precedent. That means precedent. That means example. It will be recorded for a precedent. That means example. That means if I change the law now, it will be recorded as an example. And many an error by the same example will rush into the state. That means if I change the law now, then many such errors will happen in the future. And they will cite this as an example. They will say that, oh, you changed the law during Antonio's case, so why are you not changing the law now? So Antonio is someone special. So that is why Portia tells that, no, I cannot do that. I cannot just change the law. No authority in Venice has the power to do so. And many an error by the same example, that means many such errors in the future will happen, and they will cite this as an example. So she tells that cannot be. Shylock then replies, a Daniel come to my judgment. So Shylock is now very happy. As soon as Portia tells that no, I cannot change the law, Shylock is very happy. Shylock tells that a Daniel come to my judgment. That means that Daniel is actually a very wise judge. Okay, so a very wise judge has come to give the judgment. Yes, a Daniel. Oh, wise young judge, how I do honor thee. So Shylock is now very happy. He's over the moon. He tells that, oh, a Daniel, a wise judge has come to give the judgment. Yes, a Daniel. Oh, wise young judge, how I do honor thee. That means, how do I honor you? Then Portia tells, I pray you, let me look upon the bond. So then Portia tells Shylock that let me have a look at the bond. Shylock replies, here it is. Most revered doctor, here it is. That means most respected lawyer, here it is. Shylock replies, here it is, most respected lawyer, here it is. Then Portia, after reading the bond, she reads it, and after reading, Shylock, there is thrice the money offered you. So then after reading the bond, she tells Shylock that, Shylock, they are offering you 3 times the money. Shylock replies, an oath is an oath. I have taken an oath. I will not break the oath. I will not break an oath. I have an oath in heaven. Shall I lay perjury upon my soul? No, not for Venice. So Shylock replies that no, I am not going to break an oath. I have already taken an oath. Shall I lay perjury upon my soul? Perjury means the violation of oath. That means when you break an oath, it is termed as perjury. It is termed as perjury. So shall I lay perjury upon my soul? That means shall I violate an oath for this? No, not for Venice. That means no, I am not going to do so. I have already taken an oath that I will cut the pound of flesh from Antonio's chest, and I will do so. I am not going to violate an oath. Then Portia replies, why? This bond is forfeit. That means, in that case, the bond is forfeit. That means Antonio has not been able to keep his word. The bond is broken. And lawfully, that means by legal terms, Shylock may claim a pound of flesh. That means lawfully. It is totally legal. It is totally legal that Shylock can now claim a pound of flesh to be cut off nearest to the merchant's heart. That means legally, Shylock now can cut a pound of flesh from Antonio's heart. That is merchant's heart. Be merciful. Take thrice the bond and bid me tear it up. And then she again appeals to Shylock that be merciful. Take 3 times the money and bid me tear it up. That means, and let me tear it up. Let me tear this bond. You accept 3 times the money and let me tear it up. Let me tear this paper. Shylock then replies, when it has been paid. So Shylock replies that, yeah, you can tear the paper only when the bond has been paid. Only when I have cut the pound of flesh from Antonio's chest. So Shylock has answer for just about everything. So when Portia tells that, see, you accept 3 times the money and let me tear the bond, Shylock replies, yeah, you can. But first, let me cut the pound of flesh. As the contract says, it appears you are a worthy judge. It appears you are a worthy judge. You know the law. Your explanation has made sense. I charge you by the law. So then Shylock tells that, yeah, you can do so. You can tear the paper only after the bond has been paid. As the contract says, it appears you are a worthy judge. And then Shylock tells Portia that, see, it appears that you are a worthy judge. You have good knowledge about all these things. You know the law. Your explanation has made sense. That means all your explanation, all the things that you have said up until now have made sense. I charge you by the law of which you are a well-deserving pillar. Proceed to the judgment. And then he tells Portia that, see, you are a well-deserving pillar of law and judgment. So why don't you go and give the judgment? Oh, sorry, you are a well-deserving pillar of law and justice. So why don't you go and give the judgment? By my soul, I swear, there is no power in the tongue of a man to alter me. So he tells that, see, there is no power in the speech of any man to change my decision. So no one can change my decision. Okay, so alter me here means change my decision. I stay here on my bond. So I stay here on my bond means I stand here by my bond. I'm not going to change my decision. Okay. Then Antonio tells, most heartily I do beseech the court to give me to give judgment. So then Antonio, obviously now he has no hopes of survival. He knows that he is going to Shylock is going to cut the pound of flesh from his heart and he's going to die. So Antonio replies that most heartily I do beseech the court to give judgment. So he tells that, please just pass the judgment. Then Portia replies, why then? Thus it is. So then Portia replies, well, thus it is. You must prepare your bosom for his knife. So then, as Antonio asks that, just pass the judgment, Portia replies, well, if that is the case, you must prepare your bosom for his knife. That means you must prepare your chest for his knife. Shylock then becomes very happy. He replies, oh noble judge, oh excellent young man. Portia replies, for the laws of Venice are bound to observe the penalty which here appears on the bond. So then Portia replies that, yeah, the laws of Venice are bound to observe the penalty. That means you are obliged to pay the penalty because you have violated the bond, and so Shylock can cut the pound of flesh from your chest. It is completely legal. Okay, which here appears on the bond. That means it is completely legal because it appears in the bond. It appears in written document. Then Shylock replies, it is true. Oh wise and upright judge, how much older you are than your looks. How much older you are than your looks. That means you are actually very wise. You look young, but you are very, very wise. You have a lot of wisdom. So Shylock is praising the lawyer. He's praising Portia. Okay, because he feels that the lawyer is on his side. Okay. So then Portia tells, therefore, lay bare your bosom. So Portia tells this to Antonio, that lay bare your bosom. That means expose your chest to his knife. Then Shylock replies, his breast. So says the bond, does it not, noble judge? Nearest to his heart. Those are the very words. So then Shylock, Shylock tries to, as Portia said that lay bare your bosom. Portia told this to Antonio. Then Shylock replies, his breast. So says the bond. That means it is written in the bond. It is written in the bond, isn't it, noble judge? Nearest to his heart. That means I must cut the pound of flesh nearest to his heart. Those are the very words. That means those are the exact words in the bond, isn't it? Then Portia says, it is so. Is there a balance here to weigh the flesh? So Portia replies, yeah, exactly. Then she asks that, is there a balance? Now balance here means beam balance. Okay, the balance which is used to weigh. Okay, so Portia replies, is there a balance here to weigh the flesh? Then Shylock replies, I have it ready. So Shylock is well prepared. I have the balance with me to weigh the flesh. Then Portia replies, have a surgeon ready. So then Portia tells Shylock that, do you have a surgeon ready at your expense to stop the blood lest he bleed to death? So then Portia asks Shylock that, do you have a surgeon with you? Do you have a surgeon ready at your expense to stop the blood lest he bleed to death? So Portia is asking Shylock, do you have a surgeon with you? In case, if he starts bleeding, he might just bleed to death. So it would be better if you had a surgeon with you. Then Shylock replies, it is so. Is it so written in the bond? So Shylock is acting exactly according to what is written in the bond. Okay, now in the bond, the thing regarding the surgeon was not mentioned. Okay, there was no mention of a surgeon being present there while Shylock would cut the pound of flesh. Okay, so as Portia asked Shylock about a surgeon, Shylock replied, is it written in the bond? Is it specified in the bond that I need to have a surgeon? It is not mentioned, so why should I? Then Portia replies, "It is not so expressed, but what of that? It is good that you did so much for charity." So Portia replies that, yeah, I know it is not mentioned, but then it would have been better if if you did it for charity. Everything does not need to be mentioned. You can just do it for charity. Then Shylock takes the bond from her and reads through it. Shylock, I cannot find it. It is not in the bond. So as Portia was stressing on bringing a surgeon so that Antonio does not bleed to death, Shylock replies that it is not in the bond, so why should I? Then Portia tells that, yeah, I mean, you could have done it for charity. Then Shylock takes it, reads it again, and tells Portia that no, it is not there. It is not. I cannot find it in the bond. Then Portia tells the merchant, "You merchant, have you anything to say?" Antonio replies, "But little." That means very little. "I have very little to say. I am ready and well prepared." So as I told you, he had no spark of life left in him. He felt that he was about to die. So he replied, "I am ready and well prepared." Well prepared for what? Well prepared to meet his death. "Give me your hand, Bassanio, fare you well." So he feels that this is going to be his final goodbye. Okay. Now they were very close friends, Antonio and Bassanio. Okay. So, "Give me your hand, Bassanio, fare you well. Grieve not that I have fallen this for you." So Antonio tells Bassanio that don't be sad. Grieve not that I have fallen to this for you. Now see, Antonio had borrowed money from Shylock to help Bassanio. As I told you, Bassanio wanted to go to Belmont. He needed money. So Antonio borrowed that money. Okay. So Antonio had borrowed money from Shylock to help Bassanio, who needed money at that time. And so Antonio tells Bassanio that don't feel sad. Don't feel sad that, these things have happened to me because I wanted to help you. For herein, fortune has been very kind. So Antonio feels that fortune has been very kind to him. So let us see why. It is, for herein means in my case, fortune has been very, very kind. Then is our custom. Custom means habit. It is not in fortune's habit to be kind to people. Let us see why. It is our habit to let the wretched man outlive his wealth. Wretched man means a poor man who has lost everything. A poor man who has lost everything, who does not have any money. It is fortune's habit to let a wretched man outlive his wealth, to view with hollow eye, wrinkled eyebrow, an age of poverty. And from such lingering torture, I have been spared. So Antonio tells that, and fortune has been very kind to me, because fortune has this habit of letting a poor man live a very long life, a long life of suffering, a long life of poverty. In my case, I am lucky because I know that I have lost everything. And now if I live for a long time, it will be a life of suffering. And from that prolonged suffering, I am saved. I will no longer have to suffer. Because you have to understand that Antonio had lost all his ships. And so he tells that fortune has been very kind to me. Because from that prolonged suffering, from that lingering torture, I have been spared. Lingering means prolonged, for a long, long time, which goes on for a long, long time. Okay. I have been spared. Okay. So I will not have to suffer. I will not have to live a long life of poverty, of suffering. Okay. Commend me to your honorable wife. So Antonio tells Bassanio that commend me to your honorable wife. Commend here means convey. Convey my good wishes to your honorable wife. Now, who is the honorable wife of Bassanio? Portia. Now, they do not know that Portia is there. Portia is standing right there. Portia is the lawyer. Okay. So Antonio tells Bassanio that convey my best wishes to your honorable wife, Portia. Tell her the process of Antonio's end. That means tell her the story of how my life ended. Say how I loved you. That means how much I loved you, how much I cared about you. Speak me fair in death. That means speak good about me after I die. And when the tale is told, that means after the story is told, tale here means story, T-A-L-E, tale means story. Let her judge whether Bassanio had not a true friend. So he tells that after you finish telling the story, let her judge. Let her judge and say whether Bassanio indeed had a true friend or not. I do not repent that I have paid your debt. For if Shylock cuts deep enough, I shall pay it instantly with my heart. So So what happens is that Antonio tells that, see, I do not repent, that I have paid your debt. For if Shylock cuts deep enough, I shall pay it with all my heart. So Antonio tells that, see, I will pay off the debt instantly with all my heart. Then Bassanio tells Antonio, I am married to a wife, that means Portia, who is dearer to me than life itself. That means I love her more than my life. I love her more than my life. But I would lose all. That means I am willing to sacrifice everything. Sacrifice them all to deliver you. Deliver means to save you. That means I am willing to sacrifice everything just to save you. So Bassanio tells us, see, I am married to a wife. That means here wife means Portia, who is dearer to me than life itself. That means I love her more than my life. But I would lose all. That means I am willing to sacrifice everything just to save you. Then Shylock says to Portia, we are wasting time. I pray you, let's get on with the sentence. So Shylock, he's desperate to cut the pound of flesh. So he tells Portia that we are wasting time. What is this? I request you, let's get on with the sentence. Just pass the sentence and let me have the pound of flesh. Then Portia replies, a pound of this merchant's flesh is yours. The court awards it and the law does give it. So Portia then tells that a pound of the merchant's flesh belongs to you. The court awards it and the law gives it to you. So the law is giving it. The court is also passing the judgment that you can have the pound of flesh. Then Shylock tells, most rightful judge. That, oh, what a fantastic judge you are. Rightful judge. Then Portia tells, and you must cut this flesh from his breast. The law allows it and the court awards it. So Portia then reminds him that you have to cut the pound of flesh from his chest and the law gives it to you and the court is awarding it to you. Then Shylock tells, most learned judge, a sentence, come prepare. So come prepare is told to whom? Told to Antonio. So Shylock tells to Antonio that come prepare. Then Portia tells, wait a little, just wait a little. So now comes the twist in the tale. So now you will see the twist. So Portia tells Shylock that wait a little, just wait. There is something more. This bond allows you not a drop of blood. So you can cut the flesh, but you cannot shed a single drop of blood. Here lies the twist. The words expressly means precisely. The exact words are a pound of flesh. Take your bond. Take your pound of flesh, but in removing it, if you shed one drop of blood, your lands and goods shall by the Venetian law be seized by the state of Venice. So Portia turns the tables on Shylock. She tells Shylock that just wait, let me just tell you something. You can have the pound of flesh, fine, but you cannot shed one drop of blood, because in the bond it is mentioned a pound of flesh. Take then your bond, take your pound of flesh, but in removing it, that means while cutting the pound of flesh, if you shed one drop of blood, your lands and goods shall by the Venetian law be seized by the state of Venice. Now it is impossible. It is impossible that, while cutting the pound of flesh, it is impossible that you will not shed one drop of blood. Obviously blood will come out. So it is next to impossible. Okay. So Portia then delivers this shock. He gives this shock to Shylock that, you can have the pound of flesh, but you cannot shed one drop of blood. And if you do so, all your lands and goods will be taken. Okay, will be seized by the state of Venice. Then Gratiano, who was a friend of Bassanio as well as Antonio, became very happy. Gratiano is now praising the lawyer. He tells, oh, upright judge, mark Shylock. That means listen to what she's saying. Shylock then replies, is that the law? Portia replies, you yourself shall see the law books. For as you demand justice, be assured, you will have justice more than you desire. So now Portia is telling Shylock that, see, you wanted justice, you are having justice, you are getting your justice. For as you demand justice, be assured, You shall have justice more than you desire. You wanted justice, so I am giving you justice, even more than you desire. Gratiano then replies, "Oh, learned judge." Shylock then replies, "I take your offer then. Pay me thrice the bond and let Antonio go." So now Shylock then tells that, "Oh, fine. I take your offer then. You give me 3 times the money and I will let Antonio go." Then Bassanio tells, "Here is the money. Take the money. Here is the money." Then Portia tells, "Soft." That means just wait. Just wait. He shall have all justice. That means he was seeking for justice. He was crying out for justice. He will have justice. He will not have money. He shall have justice. Soft. No haste. That means you don't have to be in so much of a hurry. He shall have nothing but the penalty to which his bond entitles him. That means his bond entitles him. His bond gives him the right to this penalty. And what is the penalty? Pound of flesh. Okay. So Gratiano now becomes all the more happy. He tells an upright judge, a learned judge. Then Portia replies, "Therefore, prepare now to cut off the flesh." So Portia is telling Shylock that prepare to cut the pound of flesh, but do not shed a drop of blood, nor cut less or more than a pound. That means, see, you cannot shed 1 drop of blood. Secondly, you must not cut less or more than a pound. Now it is also not possible. It has to be exactly 1 pound. You cannot cut less or more than a pound. If you take more, whether it be as much as weight of 1 hair, you shall die and all your goods shall be seized. So Portia tells us, take your bond, cut the pound of flesh, but do not shed 1 drop of blood. And you have to cut exactly 1 pound. It cannot be less, it cannot be more. If you take more, whether it be as much as the weight of 1 hair, you shall die and all your goods shall be seized. That means the weight has to be exact. It has to be 1 pound. It cannot vary. Not even by the weight of 1 hair. And if it is more or less than the weight of even 1 hair, then your goods shall be seized. So it has to be exact. So just recall how Shylock was acting exactly according to his bond. He said that no, it is not mentioned in the bond that I need to have a surgeon along with me. So now Portia is doing exactly that. She tells that you can have the pound of flesh and it has to be exactly 1 pound of flesh. Not more, not less. Okay? And if you do so, you shall die and all your goods will be seized. Then Gratiano tells a second Daniel, a Daniel. So Gratiano actually picked up this word from Shylock and now he is repeating that word. A second Daniel, a Daniel, Shylock, now are you truly trapped? So Shylock was now, indeed, he was trapped. He had no way out, isn't it? So Gratiano tells a second Daniel, a Daniel, Shylock, now you are truly trapped. So there is no way out for you. Then Shylock tells, give me my principal and let me go. So Shylock is begging, give me my principal amount, that is 3,000 ducats. Give me my principal and let me go. Bassanio tells, I have it ready. Here it is. So Bassanio was always ready with the amount of money. Okay. So as Shylock tells that, give me my principal, please give me my principal and let me go. Bassanio tells, I have it. Take it. Portia then intervenes and Portia tells, no, he has refused it in the open court. He shall have only justice and his bond. So he will not have the pound of flesh because he received it, because he refused it himself. And so he will have only justice and his bond. Then Shylock tells, shall I not even have the principal? Shall I not even get the principal amount? Then Portia replies, you will have nothing but the penalty to be taken at your own risk. So Portia then replies that, yeah, you will have nothing. You will have nothing but the penalty. The penalty that you were seeking for, the pound of flesh, you will have nothing but that to be taken at your own risk. But see, there are many risks involved. You cannot shed 1 drop of blood. Okay, you cannot cut more or less than 1 pound. It has to be exactly 1 pound. Okay. Then Shylock tells, why then may the devil help him enjoy his victory? I will stay no longer in this court. And then Shylock tells that, yeah, fine. Let the devil enjoy his victory. Let the devil come and help him enjoy his victory. That means Antonio. Let Antonio enjoy his victory. I will stay no longer in this court. So he tells that, no, I will not stay in this court any longer. Now actually the entire scene is not here. Many events take place here. But you just have a small portion of that scene. So as Portia tells that no, you will have nothing but the penalty because you wanted that, you wanted the penalty, so you will have nothing but that. Shylock tells that fine, let the devil help him enjoy his victory. That means Antonio's victory. I will stay no longer in this court. I will not stay here anymore. Okay, I will not stay here any longer. And then he departs. But then actually many other events take place. Many dialogues are there. You don't have it all. So this is the court of justice. Okay, so in the court of justice, what do we see? We see that Shylock initially is actually very aggressive. Okay, he is very adamant. Okay, he feels that he will be given the permission to cut the pound of flesh, and he's given the permission to cut the pound of flesh from Antonio's chest. But then what happens? Portia tells him that you cannot shed one drop of blood from his body, and you have to cut exactly 1 pound of flesh, not more, not less. And if you do so, your lands and goods will be seized, and you will obviously be taken as a captive, and you will die. Okay, and so Shylock has no way out. Shylock has no way out, and that is why Gratiano tells that, oh Shylock, you are trapped. You're trapped in your own game. So this is the scene. So Portia is the one who actually saved Antonio. It was Portia's wisdom which saved Antonio, okay, from the evil clutches of Shylock. Thank you.